And he joins me right now, perhaps one of the most decorated competitors in all of Impact Wrestling history. He's a Grand Slam champion, a tag team champion, an X Division champion, world champion, and even a Knockouts tag team champion if history serves me correct. Eric Young joins us today. Eric, how you doing, man?
Yeah, that wimp AJ never won the women's titles. I hope he sees this.
I hope he does too. So talk to me, man. You know, I mean, of course, we're talking about Impact Wrestling is going to be coming to Chicago, Illinois on August the 12th and 13th at Cicero Stadium. So a big show for you all coming up. I mean, what is it like? Chicago, I've always heard, is the greatest wrestling city of all time. That's what everybody says, but also a tough crowd at times. How do you feel about Impact coming to Chicago?
Yeah, I think it's no secret, even people that haven't wrestled there or haven't been to a live show, like you can see it and feel it through the TV. You know, there's just something different. I have no idea what it is. I wish I knew how to duplicate it in every city we went to. You know, every city's got their thing, and most of the crowds are good. For us, it's people that, the crowds aren't huge, but everybody there understands the product. They're there because they want to be. It's not some weird giveaway or some corporate guy that, oh, let's go see what this is about. It's people that are fans of pro wrestling and fans of the product. So it always works out great for us. But in Chicago, I mean, there's something about it, man. It's just the energy and the passion and just the knowledge and, the history of wrestling in the city. There's something different about it. I've known that from the first time working here, which was several years ago. And we're pumped to be bringing Emergence and Second City Slam here on August 12th and 13th. And wrestling in front of a crowd like that, that energy gives you energy. If you're sick or you're, maybe one too many vodkas the night before, those go away pretty quick when you get in front of a crowd like that.
And to speak to kind of, you mentioned just how it has a different energy. Do you have to tailor, like if you've worked, say, a town before, we're in Houston, Texas right now, but if you've worked the town before, do you tailor your kind of, I don't want to say performance, but do you tailor your presentation differently based upon the city?
Yeah, I think a little bit. You mean, it starts with, the set and the lights and the design of all of that. It starts with that, and then on top of that, it's the design of the card and, how do you start and where do you go second and what do you put third and what follows, this match and what follows that match and how do you lead into the main event. There's a science to all of it, and there's a right and wrong way to do it. Book would be able to back me up on this. It's, there is, you're wrestling in certain places and you have certain roles in those certain places because you're trying to build the story of the show towards the main event. And in Chicago, there's pockets of the United States where it's not territorial anymore. Like there's not territories, but like certain things work in certain states and certain things don't. What I know about Chicago fans, like you said, they can be harsh. If you're lazy, they will let you know. Like there is no second gear. You're in overdrive or you're being booed. And there's part of me that loves that. They're just saying, like, we spend our money and we're wasting our time coming down here. Time is money and we want to be entertained in whatever way that is. And the cool thing is, I know without a doubt, if someone comes to the show, Impact just right now is just there's just a momentum. There's just this real life, real burning momentum and kind of it's not like desperation, but it just feels like we're trying to top it each time. And the momentum is real, man. Wrestling guys, fans can feel it, wrestlers can feel it, production people can feel it. And it's a drug. That kind of feeling, we don't want it to go away. We want to keep, I want more of it, and the more of it I can get, the better.
You've been with Impact Wrestling, since the infancy, since the early days. And I was actually just telling Book the other day about Impact Plus and how great of a service it is. It's really worth every penny to go back and watch some of those old matches and relive the Asylum years into the early Impact Zone and things of that nature. But you hit something on here that I kind of want to get your opinion on about the momentum that Impact has. To me, Impact feels right now like it did in those 2002 through 2005 years, where you have your established stars, but there's such a great crop of Impact originals, whether that's, the Jordan Graces of the world, the Josh Alexanders, the Mooses, sprinkled in with veteran presence like you. Do you see a similarity between those years and these years?
Yeah, definitely. There is a very similar kind of energy. And at that point, we were like working our way towards, Spike and being a prominent part of that network. And the numbers were kind of growing. And, we have Kurt Angle come over. We had Christian on his own volition choose to come over. Later on Booker and Steiner and Kevin, and we had real life pro wrestling star power sprinkled in with these who's who of the wrestlers that everybody wants to see, and Daniels and Joe and Beer Money and me and AJ and Motor City Machine Guns. Like, if you look at that roster at that point in time, I think, maybe not diehard, but a casual fan that just watches the WWE, or somebody that doesn't understand what was going on there, we're like, oh, it's just some cheap imitation, whatever. And now you look, and like 3/4 of the people on that roster are the top stars in the business, and it's really cool to see. And I believe that's happening all over again right now. The guys that are cutting their teeth and they're starting to establish themselves, guys like Steve Macklin and Trey Miguel, Speedball Bailey, Ace Austin. These guys are young. I mean, like, Ace Austin could be my son and it wouldn't even be weird. It's fucking nuts. I don't know if we're allowed to swear, but
That's
it's
fine.
nuts. It's nuts. I don't know what happened. I blinked and I'm the old guy. But yeah, like, that's happening. That organic thing is happening all over again. And it's really cool to be part of kind of the second turn of it, and I understand that the production value isn't the WWE, and I understand that sometimes the crowds don't look as impressive. And the truth is like, all the wrestlers can do is do the work and provide a show, and then those people tell their friends, and their friends tell their friends, and that's how you grow something like this. It doesn't happen overnight, but I promise you that it's happening. I'm there. I'm at every show, and I'm cognizant, and I'm paying attention to all of it because it's important to me, and it's important to everybody that works there, that this place needs to be growing. So it's a good place. It's a viable place for people to make a living, and that's what it's turning into. And it's a beautiful thing to be part of.
You seem like a guy who's driven by goals. You seem like a very goal-oriented person, and you want those set and established, and you want to go out and achieve them. Whether that's been in your early days in Impact Wrestling when it was TNA, going on to the WWE, being a television personality and hosting television shows. Like, you seem very goal-oriented. Coming back to Impact in 2020, what are your goals, and what have you achieved and still want to achieve?
I mean, the big thing for me is to make sure that the company grows. And I think that that's the one really cool thing is, like, we're all independent contractors. We're all in this for ourselves, and we have to look out for ourselves first, because nobody else is going to. And that's just the nature of it. It's not cutthroat, and that's not political. That's just how it works. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what I can say about being here for over the last 2 years is, I think everyone here, almost to a fault, is aware that in order for us to do well, the company has to do well, right? The company needs to grow, and the things need to be done the right way, and they need to be done selflessly. And, I've been in Chicago away from my family for 2 days. I was home for 3 days, and then, hey, can you go and do this? And I just say yes. And here I am for 2 days, living out of a suitcase and doing 14 hours of media and then flying to Louisville to wrestle. Like, it's not fun, I can tell you. And it's hard. It's harder than you think. And it's draining, and flying here and flying there. And if anyone's been to the airport in the last 6 months, it is the living hell right now. And traveling for a living is not fun right now. It's not fun anytime, but it's really difficult right now with cancellations and delays. The cost of rental cars and stuff is astronomical. So it's really difficult. But what I know for sure is everyone here understands it, not to a fault, but almost everyone understands the company needs to do well, and you're going to have to sacrifice, and you're going to have to do things that you don't want to do, and you're going to have to do things that are necessary to grow this company, and everyone's doing them. And that's there is a real team mentality here, and Scott D'Amore has created a very special place to work.
And I want to actually talk about Scott D'Amore since you brought him up. I feel like he is kind of an unsung hero in the industry. I mean, you hear about people talk about Scott D'Amore, but the creative talent that he is, the in front of the camera, behind the scenes talent that he is, what he does on the business end. Just talk about how important he really has been to not only Impact, but I think that he is really important to wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, for Impact, I can say my favorite quality of Scott is he's going to tell you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not. And
Right.
as a leader of people, and the person that has to decide things, that's the way you have to be. He's straight. He doesn't have time to beat around the bush, and you're going to ask him something and he's going to tell you what he thinks, whether you like to hear it or not. That's invaluable. He's a guy that I've known for almost 30 years, and a guy that understands wrestling on an almost insane level, and understanding wrestling and understanding TV wrestling is two different things. And he knows them both because he's done them both. A very successful career in his own right. He was one of us at one point, so he understands the push and pull of that. But he's also a super successful businessman and understands the push and pull of that. And for me, having someone like that understands both sides, is responsible, is smart, is relentless. A lot of people here call him the Italian vampire because he doesn't sleep. He doesn't sleep. There's lots of people on this crew. Ross is another one that you could call Ross at any point and he answers his phone, and it's insane. I turned mine off. No one's calling me at 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't have any answers for you. But yeah, he's a great guy to work for, man. And he's going to make decisions, going to piss some people off, and that's the part of being a leader and being in that position. You're just not going to make everybody happy. But he has created something very special here, man. Very, very special. I've been in a lot of different locker rooms. I've been here for a long time in a lot of different iterations and a lot of different leaders. It has never been better than it is right now. I can tell you that there's lots of people in the two other companies that don't like going to work. I'm not going to name names, but I know that it's real. I've got hundreds of really good friends that work in both companies, and they're miserable.
Hey, you got to love what you do, and you got to love where you work. Sometimes those two don't go together. So it's a privilege to have that. Again, we have Impact Wrestling brings 2 nights of high energy, action-packed pro wrestling to Chicago, August 12th and 13th, emanating from the Cicero Stadium, and that's Impact, Emergence, and Second City Slam. Booker tells the story. He and Undertaker did a show, and then after the show was over, they're at the bar. They're both in their early mid-40s, and they turn to each other and they say, "Why did it take us so long to figure this out?" Right?
Yeah.
Why did it take us so long to figure this out? Now you said you're the old man in the locker room, the old guy, to use your words, right? You're sitting there and seeing all these young kids, and you have figured it out, for lack of a better term. What is the advice that you give to them?
For me, it's the classic thing of, and I think, Taker and Booker would probably say the same thing, is you just can't know what you don't know. And their experience can't be taught. There's no book. Like, I can't say, hey, I've got experience, and explain things to you. And then you're like, oh, and then all of a sudden you have the experience, right? It can't be passed on. It can only be obtained by doing these things. And it's invaluable. I think at 25, I was like, oh yeah, I got this figured out. And I look back now, like I'll see like on the Impact Plus app or something, some match of, in Team Canada, and I do something like, oh God, why did I?
What was I thinking?
Why would I do that? And but at that point, confidence is a huge part of what we do. And it maybe the most important thing is belief in self. If you don't believe in yourself, how can you expect a fan to believe in you? So, I definitely believed in myself, but I look back now and say, like, if I knew then what I know now, I mean, like, there would be no limits to where I could have gone. I know I wouldn't change any of it. I've loved my journey. I've seen the card from every single angle. I think singularly, I have maybe one of the most interesting views on the wrestling business, especially the TV side, because I have done everything. I mean, there is no arguing. I'm the opening match. I'm the popcorn match. I was the main event. I was the job guy. I was wrestling women before it was a thing. I've done tag. I've done X Division. I've done gimmick matches. I've been in 10 different factions. I was in the NWO for like 6 weeks. It was wild. It's wild, all the amount of different things that I've done. And part of that is just like, I refuse to say no. And I refuse to think that I can't do something. It's belief in myself and belief in the people around me that are going to help me to do those things. So yeah, if they came to me with something and said, hey, do you think you could do this? Yep, without even thinking about it. Yep. With no idea. I'd never done comedy wrestling a day in my life. When they came to me in like 2005, 2006, hey, we want you to do this comedy thing where you're scared and you're paranoid and whatever. And I'm like, well, how paranoid? And they're like, as paranoid as you want to be. So off I went. And
Shakespeare, right?
Yeah. Wild stuff.
Oh man, it's incredible. Again, Impact Wrestling, 2 nights, August 12th and 13th in Chicago. You can get tickets available here very soon. Emergence and Second City Slam. And also, guys, really go out there and get Impact Plus. It's just such a fun service. I sat and watched the first Asylum pay-per-view the other day, and I was blown away because I'd never seen it before. And it was fun to see Jackie Fargo kick off Impact Wrestling. So Eric Young, you really have done it all in the business. Hall of Fame legacy, of course. And thanks so much for making some time for us today. And we can't wait to see what y'all bring to Chicago.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, thanks for the time.